draw a blonde lab in a miniature size. The reference image will be listed in the description below. If you see my other videos, I always talk about starting with the eyes first. I just think it really brings the whole portrait alive ultimately. So you want to leave room for the whites of the eyes, especially in the highlighted areas. That way you can get that nice glossy look. And then incorporating a mix between reds, orange, and a little bit of green to create more of a natural appeal and natural reflections happening in the eyes. So then moving on to the left-hand side here with the ear, I'm blending a lot of those similar colors that you see in the eyes, the reds, the greens, and the orange a little bit, and then I mix it with a little bit with some light blue. When you have that contrast between the cold tones and the warm tones, it really makes the portrait pop even more so. So keep in mind when you're playing around with colors, keep that in mind. And then moving on to the rest of the face here, you can see the first couple of layers are really light, and I'm not really focusing on the details all too much just yet. I want to make sure that you're getting more of the highlights, lowlights, and midtones down than anything else. And then once you have enough layers built up and you've made it look fairly smooth, then you can start to add more of those textures, such as like with the direction of the fur. That is very, very important. You always want to draw in the same direction as the fur that you see in the image. That will make or break your portrait big time. So around the eyes, you can see that there's kind of that pinkish, peachy, reddish colors going around the eyes. Definitely want to pay attention to the eyebrows and what kind of colors are around the eyes and draw in that same similar direction. So you can see in the forehead there, it kind of has like a different color compared to the other parts that are in between the two eyes. So pay attention to that too. And then with the right ear here, it is basically a similar way, just like the left side, but you definitely want to draw the highlights and the lowlights, making sure that it's showing that it kind of has a little bit of a bump to it, a couple of bumps to it, rather than just a straight ear. And then you can use a slice tool to also kind of etch in some little highlighted stray hairs. All of the materials that I use are listed in my ebook, which will be in the description below. It's the full materials list ebook. And then continuing on, so working with different colors, I do use a little bit of purple as well to kind of incorporate a variety of colors. So the more colors you have, the more realistic the portrait's going to look when it comes to making sure that you have the right kind of colors. So you just have to play around and see what works and what doesn't work and what you think that looks pretty natural. So with the nose here, the nostrils are just going to be pretty much straight black. That little line in between is pretty much straight black too, but I'm blending a mix of pinks, purples, a little bit of orange, and some browns in there. Mixing all of those together. Those color pencils I already used within the portrait, so I'm just using this same kind of colors. It's really important to be consistent throughout the whole portrait by doing that. Now with the muzzle itself, the top of the mouth, I use a light blue for the lighter areas because it's very, very light, but you don't want it to be completely white. And then going in with the browns just to apply some more texture, and then using a lighter color to burnish some of the areas. Now burnishing is an effect where you apply more pressure, create a waxy coating over the top. That way when you go back over it, you could apply more details, and it also helps to remove some of the tooth of the paper. Now moving on to the tongue here. Tongues are pretty difficult, so I don't blame you if you're pretty intimidated by this part. But I use a variety of pinks, reds, a little bit of browns in there, similar colors still from the rest of the portrait, and then making sure that I have a nice shading happening. So this tongue, to show that it has some depth and that it's kind of wrinkled a little bit, I used some darker colors and then lightened it up in some of the more highlighted areas. And then the mouth itself too has a little bit more of that pinkish red tone. And then you definitely want to get some of that fur underneath in the chin area. Now with the body, the rest of the body here, you want to kind of incorporate at least a little bit of that under chin, or like the neckline really, and then finish off the neck by going right into the body. So drawing that curve is super important, making sure that you have the nice direction of the fur and making sure that you kind of have like more of a highlight going on in the middle of it, and blending it all together using a variety of all those different colors. Very, very important. If you haven't noticed, I haven't used a whole lot of blonde color pencils, but I do use it a little bit more for the rest of this body. It's more of a base layer than anything else, so I'm just using it to blend and as a base layer. Now you can also use a white color pencil to blend too if you don't have very light colors, but just keep in mind that it's going to lighten it up quite a lot, so just be aware of that, and you can go back over it with other colors to darken it up or add more details in the end. But you can actually see the direction of the fur is really, really good and nice and rich in this area. You want to make sure that your pencil is nice and sharp too. That is very, very important for getting the portrait to look more realistic with the texture and showing the direction of the fur. Now that I'm almost done here, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Or if you really enjoyed this video and you thought that the tips were really helpful, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always open for feedback, as well as any questions if you have need any help. And if you are interested in learning to draw, I have a full-on Learn to Draw Your Own Pet program where it's all at your own pace and all pre-recorded. That will be linked below, as well as a couple of ebooks where you can learn what kind of color pencils I use, or if you're wanting to make your own art prints, I have a full-on ebook for that. Or if you're wanting to start your own business, I have an ebook for that too. So please check that out in the description below. Please go like and subscribe this video. It really, really does help. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.